Good morning.
Good morning. Let's see. Still figuring out this live stream stuff.
Can you have like video on both today?
I think so. I got a new router, so my
Oh.
Wi-Fi shouldn't just die on me. Um, God, I know there's like an analytics view for showing your live streams, but I can't. I can't find it. YouTube Studio. Da-da-da-da. Great, go live. Okay, it's working. All right. Uh, I need to I need to tweet, and then we can get started. Oh,
Logistics.
what a process. I need to automate this stuff.
Robot. Need a robot.
Yeah, right? Alright, what are the questions? 3, 4, okay. Alright, cool. Uh, Hold on, let me check. Oh man, there's like 6 interfaces to check. What's up, Steven? What's up, Rob?
Hello,
Doing
hello.
well, doing well. Alright, we are live, and I'm gonna start with, let's see. Can I share my screen? Okay, I don't know if this is gonna break things. If I share my screen on Zoom while live streaming, that should be fine. I think it'll all work. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And the live stream is also still working. Nice. Alright, cool. Um, Happy Sunday, y'all. So let's see. We'll go over these 2 questions from the practice set. Should take us only 20 minutes or 25 minutes, I think. And then we'll go over V3. Basically, last time we went through the white paper and we're just like, all right, the most interesting thing is there's like efficiency modes, so you can group assets into like the same risk category. Um, so that like if it's all in the same risk category in terms of like what you're borrowing and depositing, then you can set much riskier loan to value terms, basically, which increases capital efficiency. Hence why they call it efficiency mode. Um, and then they also have like a isolation mode. I think that's the same as like you can choose some random token that becomes like an isolated pair with an efficiency mode set, is my understanding, but that didn't really come through in the white paper, so we're going to try and find that in the data. So that's what we're going to do today. And if anyone has any other questions, feel free to jump in anytime, and I'm happy to take detours. So, cool. All right. I think these questions should be fairly fun. last time we covered the transactions table and also the traces table, I think, some of the basics of it. We haven't touched logs yet, I don't think. Yeah, we haven't touched logs. We'll get to the logs. But we showed basically within, I think we showed this. I can't remember where we showed this, but we showed like when a function is called, you have like 3 call types basically, with like static call, just normal call, and like delegate call. But there's actually more than just like function calls in traces as well. One of the big important ones is that you have something called a create call or opcode, right? So if I do traces, maybe limit like 10,000, or yeah, let's just limit 10 first. And I want to check distinct, just type, not call type. Right, so last time call type was where we saw like call value, call, static call, and delegate call. But type is like a higher in the hierarchy, basically. So if I just look at distinct types, oh, the limit's gonna apply afterwards. That's not a good idea. One week should be fine. Actually, I wonder if this is faster on the V2 engine. This one's probably faster on the V2 engine. Let's see. Side by side. Wow, yeah, alright, that is much faster.
It'll be faster for single columns.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, I'm not filtering on bytecode, or not bytecode, like address columns, so it should be faster. But alright, you know what? We'll stick to a week. 12 weeks is too long. I think 12 weeks maybe goes past the partition. Cool. So you have call, create, reward, suicide. Reward, I'm pretty sure this is for like rewards that go to miners. Call, that's where you see like the distinct like static call, delegate call, regular call. Suicide, I think that has to do with self-destructs, but I'm not actually sure. Actually, this is a good time to look into it. Can't type this early in the morning. All right. Let's just do type transaction. I just want the transaction that goes with these. Oh. Of course, for window functions, you need a partition. My brain's not fully awake yet, so you have to deal with me as I do this stuff. Anyone who hasn't seen a window function before, essentially row number is a function that'll just like count in increments. And then you can choose like, I want to count like 1, 2, 3, 4 by some order of things. So like this was just doing, when I didn't have the partition, it was just saying, basically order everything in Ethereum traces. And then if I say where row number equals 1, then that's basically just going to get me the most recent row across all these rows. But what I wanted was the most recent row by distinct type, All right, so I need to do this. And reward doesn't have transaction hash. Interesting. All right. So good learning for me too. Okay, yeah. So suicide is basically, not basically, it is self-destructing, right? So you can destroy a contract, depending on like if that self-destruct call, like opcode, is like included in the contract's code or not. It's not like anyone can call self-destruct, otherwise that'd be pretty bad. Because essentially when you call self-destruct, then the remaining ETH will basically be refunded or sent to some address, right? And there's also like some sort of other gas refunds in the transaction involved. But I think there have been hacks before where you self-destruct, like you basically just, someone looked at all the addresses on Ethereum and tried calling self-destruct on all of them, so that they could get the ETH from the contract into their wallet, right? You don't really see this much like on protocols anymore, but you'll see self-destructs on a lot of like bot contracts, again, for like gas optimization purposes. I don't know why reward doesn't have a transaction hash. We'll have to look at that. But for our practice problem, I'm kind of going off track here, but I said find all new DEX pairs created from in the first month the Uniswap factory is deployed. So the call that we want to look at is actually a create call. Oh, I don't need this one. All right, I want the create call. Essentially what this is just telling you like when a new address has been created, right? So if I'm on Etherscan, I search up the transaction hash, and I go to internal transactions, I can see like, oh, there was a create call, and it created, like you'll see a from and a to, and normally the from and to is like the caller versus the callee, like whatever contract is called, but in this case it's like technically don't call a contract that doesn't exist, so this is just saying that the contract was created. And you'll see for like, if you actually looked at this transaction hash on, like this is something that I think is confusing in Etherscan's interface, but in this case, actually no, this one is a factory. But if you were to create like here, if I was to look at the transaction hash of like when this OpenSea registry was deployed, then you would see there's actually no from address. I mean, there's no to address. See, the to value is empty, right? And like this is basically the only case where a to value can be empty, is like when you're just deploying a contract, right? Because there's nothing you're calling. It's not like you're calling the contract that's being deployed. That'd be kind of circular. Okay, yeah. So that create call is basically what you want to try to filter on for trying to figure out when a contract's been deployed, right? And so if we're looking at factory contracts, I linked to the documentation, and then you have to try to figure out like where is the contract deployed. In this case, Uniswap's done a good job at the docs, and like when they talk about the factory, they actually have the address here, and they don't make you go search around for some like list of addresses on GitHub. So I greatly enjoy that. And so what we want is select, okay, this is actually faster on V1 engine. Select all from Ethereum.transactions where 2 equals the factory. All right, so here I'm looking at like, all right, I want to look at all the transactions where the factory address was called. And there's a few ways of going about this actually. One is like I could look at the documentation and see like, okay, what are the functions that are being called and the events being emitted, right? So in this case, there's like a pair created event. So I might choose to look at all of the pairs created based on this event versus based on like the traces create opcode basically. I could also look at the function being called, right? So I can look for when create pair is being called on this contract. But a lot of the times it's like you might be looking at some set like multiple contract factories and not just one, and you don't want to have to do like custom logic for each factory of like, oh, this is the topic I need on that one, this is the function call I need on that one. So like you might just use traces just because it's like universal. Like if there was a contract created, then it would have had to be emitting a create opcode. So I'm going to take this set of transactions. Traces, action hash equals hash or 2 and tr dot type equals call. No, not call. Create. Alright, 2 is ambiguous because traces also has 2. And I wanted this for just the first month. So where transaction dot block time. Oh yeah, okay. So I would need to figure out when was this deployed, the factory contract, right? So you could find that in the data, or you could just go to the address. And there's always like contract creator and creator transaction hash. And you can always just like find the transaction hash and date, right? So that's much faster. Greater than or equal to minus interval. Let's say 1 month. And we'll find out if that's acceptable format for Postgres. That is not. All right. So let's do 5. All right. All right. Google's telling me I need the littles. No? All right. Let's just try some different formats. Oh. I need to cast. I'm so used to Dune handling the parameters. All right. I hope this is easy to run or fast to run. But essentially this would give us all of the create calls emitted from the factory contract being called, right? So then I'd be able to do okay. Oh, there it goes. Now it worked. So there's 935 calls, basically pairs being deployed in the first month. So if I just wanted all the addresses, traces actually has, hold on, I gotta scroll back. This is what we're looking at right now is like the contract code being deployed. Address code. Yeah, so there's type create, and then there's an address and a code field, and these fields are only exist when the create is called, right? And yeah, for anyone who ever does want to look at the bytecode and like do some fancy filtering there, you can do that. So just letting you know that the code is there. It's not it's not in Solidity, but there are ways you can kind of manipulate that data. So let's just do block time. And this is essentially all pairs deployed in first month of Uniswap v2. So this is recommendations. PQ. There. All right. And here, so I have a bonus question that's asking, like, what is each pair's DEX volume group by month? And there are quite a few ways of going about this, right? So if you wanted to figure out DEX volume, you could do, like, instead of checking this way, you would check off of, like, the get pair, or, like, the create pair created. Alright, so I could just do select all from create pair. I'll put this in here as like, this is the decode option. Why is it not loading? Uh-oh, we're running into some Dune bugs here. I might have to refresh. I think sometimes Dune has some like weird caching in the front end, where like the results display the previous results and not the current ones. But yeah, so if you wanted to have create pairs, you could have just looked here, looked at pair created, and checked if it was decoded, and you'd have that, all right? Or you could do the non-decoded option. This is the raw decoded option. Oh, hold on. We have people in the waiting room. Let's see. All right, for those of you just joining, we're going through practice question 3. Again, this is all live streamed and recorded on YouTube as well, so you'll have that for reference when you want to go back through it. And there are really no rules here. Just if you have a question, feel free to either type it in chat or just turn off your mic and kind of reach out. Cool. Let me check there's no questions in live stream. What is up, Phil Murphy? Okay. So, I guess quick review of what we've been looking at so far is we were looking at, like, we've looked at transactions and traces before for just function calls. If you look in the recording, I was showing, like, that there's more than just, like, function calls and traces, right? You have, like, create codes and, like, self-destruct codes, and also like block rewards. Those are all in traces. So we had this query up here where essentially we got the Uniswap factory address from the docs here. And we said, hey, we want all the transactions to this factory contract, and we want the traces from those transactions so that we could see the address of the deployed contract. I know that's a mouthful. Feel free, if you have questions, you could ask them now, or you could look at the recording and ask them in the Telegram group. Either way is fine. This is actually a fairly complex concept if like you don't know what factories are. I guess very quick level setting on factories. It's just like a way for like, if you're deploying the same contract over and over, right? Such as like a Uniswap pair where it's like, it's the same logic for like any 2 tokens to be swapped. Then you would create a factory that basically holds that logic so that you can just say, hey, I want these two different tokens in the pair and just deploy me the same contract, right? That's the idea between this Uniswap factory. So we ran this query and basically got like, okay, what are the addresses of all the deployed pairs? And I was saying that was like this, oops. This is the option from create calls and traces. And the reason why you would do this over like something more specific, like what I've done down here, is like this is generalizable to any contract on Ethereum, and you don't have to care about like what is the function call or event being emitted for like creating a new contract. You can just do this for like everything. If you need to like you'll notice like if you looked earlier or you try to run this again, it takes like 28 seconds to run. So if you need something that's more efficient, then you should you should decode the contract, right? You can go to my contracts and like add a contract to be decoded if it's not, but like the popular ones should all be decoded. And if it's decoded, then you can say like, okay, here in the documentation, they say there's a pair created event. So I just searched pair created here and looked for the Uniswap namespace. Fun thing here is you can see there's actually a bunch of contracts with pair created, and a ton of these are just Uniswap forks. So that's also an easy way to detect forks. Forks just means someone who basically deployed the exact same code. Yeah, so you could search through here and you can see like, now we have to know like, okay, which one is the address we're looking for, or like the contract address. In this case, they emit it as address pair. So I would just filter for like event, block time, and pair if I wanted the address. And the last way to do this is if you look at Ethereum logs, right? So this is technically decoding off of the logs table, but we haven't looked at the logs table before, so I will showcase it now. And this one comes with a lot more caveats. So this is one of those things that made absolutely zero sense to me when I first looked at it, because I was like, what the heck are like topics? But essentially logs are just like, as a function is being called, the protocol, like whoever wrote the code, can choose like to emit logs. It's kind of like printing to console, right? At any point during the transaction, right? And this is key. It's something that's only emitted during a transaction. It's not like before the transaction happens or after the transaction happens, emit a log, right? So yeah, I would just think of it as like if you've coded in any other language, it's like printing to your console. Except the catch is the printing to the console has a very specific structure to it, right? You have like indexed and non-indexed data points, right? So an index topic is something that shows up in like topic 1, 2, 3, or 4. And non-indexed basically all shows up in data as like a concatenated jumble, right? So you can see here there's like a bunch of zeros and then some data, and then a bunch of zeros and then some data. It's like these are all like their own variables, but because they're non-indexed, they're just all like stuck one after another after each other. Which, as you can imagine, makes it harder to like index or like filter through them. So for a lot of events, they'll choose like certain topics to put in the indexed columns to make it easier to filter by, and they'll put everything else into data, right? And I think once that makes sense to you, then it's like easier to look at something on Etherscan and be like, oh, okay. Like if I look at the most recent create pair, then I can see there's like index topic 1, index topic 2, and then this is not an index topic, right? So I can see that this here is token 0, this here is token 1, and then this, the raw just shows up as this, but this is the pair address. I think they actually made an error with decoding on this one. So you can see the raw has 2 variables in it, it looks like. But decoded only has 1. So if there's 2 variables here, I should see 2 decoded here. But there's only 1 non-indexed topic here. Oh, there's this uint. Okay, here. The final uint log value will be 1 for the first pair created, 2 for the second pair created. Okay, I think this is just saying, like, if you create multiple pairs with the same token, it's like if you do USDC ETH, and then USDC USDT, and then USDC, like, what's another token that's popular? Uni or something, then I think it counts the number of it? That might be wrong, actually. Hold on. I don't think that's right. I am wrong. Sorry. Talking out of my butt here. Does anyone know if you can submit contracts? No, Simon, you can't submit contracts for decoding in V2 yet. They're working on it. But right now you can only use the decoded contracts that they've, like, pre-chosen. But yeah, sorry, in this case, this count is literally just how many pairs, like same pairs, are created, right? So I think they don't implement like oh, you can only do 1 USDC ETH pair pool. You could do as many as you want, I guess, which might be for like yield farming reasons. But I think because this is just a uint and they didn't put a name on it, Etherscan has like no idea what to do. So like they show a comma, but they don't have uint here, and like they don't decode it. Right. So here we can see that, like, okay, even though Etherscan is like very, very, very good, even they still have errors. So like never trust any interface to be giving you like 100% the correct data. Right. So in this case, like, yeah, like if you were looking for uint, you'd probably be confused for a while. Like, oh, it's not showing up on Etherscan. Am I doing something wrong? It's like, no, it's like Etherscan just didn't include it. But you can see it in the raw data. The raw data never lies. All right. Sorry, that was kind of a tangent, right? But basically, we would expect to see like token 0 and token 1 and topic 1 and topic 2. And we expect to see pair and uint as like pair and then uint, right, in data, because they're not indexed. To add to the layer of complexity, Dune did their topics with starting from topic 1 instead of starting from topic 0. So in Dune, topic 1 is actually topic 0, topic 2 is actually topic 1, topic 3 is actually topic 2, and then topic 4 is actually topic 3. Don't ask me why they did it this way. I actually don't know if this is fixed in V2.
It's not.
Is it not? Why? Why is it not fixed? Why would they do this? Dude, if you're watching, this is confusing a lot of people. Why am I looking at traces? Sorry, my brain's not awake. My God, it really isn't fixed. Alright, well, this is like big, flashing, like, don't get yourself confused. Topic 0, like, everything is pushed by 1. And you might be asking, well, what is topic 0? It's not one of these variables. What is it doing here? Topic 0 is a signature or identifier, right? To make it easy to look for certain events being emitted, like, on a raw blockchain level, you wouldn't search pair created. You would search the signature of pair created, right? And then probably asking, well, how is that signature created? And that is using the KAKAK 256 hash. And you'll quickly realize, looking at data or doing anything in like the Solidity space, everything is just hash. Like everything uses this hash function. And for our case, if we're looking for this, we want to put pair created, and then it was address, and then we actually know there's a uint, but if you did it, you would be like, oh, address, address, address. And like this would be like the topic signature you'd expect. And you'd come here and you'd be like, oh no, why isn't that matching, right? It's not matching because there's actually uint. So you need to add the uint in here. And now it still doesn't match. All right. What did I do wrong here? There's something I'm missing. Let's look at the code for when address uint. Oh, I wonder if there's something weird about... Maybe we don't include this? Huh. I've actually never seen this before.
Andrew, you try UN256.
Oh, you know what? You're probably right. That's the default, right? Ah, thank you, Rob. This is why data analysts always work together. Yeah, so you have to put the type of uint. You can't just put normal uint. I guess uint defaults to uint256 is my guess. But yeah, pretend that little midsection didn't happen there. But if you put in like essentially the name of the event and then the types of the function, the types of the parameters being emitted, you'll get a function or the topic signature. And functions work the same way. But we could now take this topic and say, hey, I want all for logs where topic 1, remember, because topic 1 is actually topic 0. I'll make a note here. Topic 1 is actually topic 0. So you'd think that I can just do this, right? But if I do this, this is actually going to show me pair created from like all these other fork contracts as well, right? So I want to make sure, okay, I want pair created, but I want pair created on only contracts, but I want pair created only emitted from this factory address. I don't want to include all the copycats. And I only want first month. In this case, it's, sorry, what?
I'm sorry. Just to double check the timestamp, the filter for the time. It's filtering for beyond the first month.
Oh, because I went backwards? Oh, right, because I have to time cap it. Yep, you're right. Thank you. So we want this. And
I mean, just change the sign, I think.
You're correct. Then I want to do plus, right? Because I want when it was deployed plus interval. Right? I think that's right. Because if I do minus interval, nothing shows. It would be like checking for contracts, checking for pairs deployed before this factory is even created. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice catch. All right. So this is the raw decoded option. This is your decoded option. This is your traces option. All for getting pairs deployed in the first month. And actually, we want, this topic data doesn't help us. We want the decoded data. All right, so I know that basically it sits within the first section of the non-indexed data portion is where pair is. All right, so I'm just going to do substring on data. I'm going to start from 0 and take the first 32, right? Because everything is 32 bytes at a time, or 64 characters. So like we would start here, and the substring might be wrong. I can't remember if it starts from 0 or 1. All right, I do have to start from 1. All right, and I can just see like, okay, this does match this, but I only want like, I only want this portion. I don't want with all the zeros because it's not going to help me. So I'm going to only want, addresses are 20 bytes long, right? So I do 20 there. I took off 13, or I took off 12. So I'm just going to add 12 here. And this should basically give you like the address portion from data, right? And for fun, let's say we wanted count or the uint, right? So then we would start from 33, go to 32 as count deployed. And we just do a byte A to numeric. And that gives us the count deployed. Why is this only increasing? This means that I was wrong again on what this uint is tracking. It's not tracking the number of pairs created for the same token 0, token 1. It's just tracking how many pairs have been deployed at all on this factor. So count deployed is accurate to say here. Cool. All right. Welcome to trying to figure out what documentation is actually saying. So those are your 3 ways. I'm trying to think if there's... yeah, okay. You could look at functions too. I guess... Oh man, we're spending way longer than I wanted to on this. I need to get faster at this, but the raw decoded... This is the raw decoded logs, and this is raw decoded function, sig option. Actually, okay, in this case, I'll show you how to get the function signature, but it actually doesn't help us here. Does anyone know why it doesn't help us here? The reason it doesn't help us is because when you call this function, you don't know the address of the pair being deployed, so we wouldn't be able to get that data from the function call, right? But for fun, we can at least get the function signature, so we can cover this concept. So I just type in, again, the function name and the parameters, and then I can get the signature, and you can see that the function signature is just the first 4 bytes, or 8 characters, of the function signature, or the hash. So I just take all from Ethereum dot transactions where data input. I feel like I have very short-term memory on these column names. Data. I think input is in traces, is where my brain is pulling that from. Alright, so I want where substring data 1 4 equals the first 4 bytes here. And 2 equals. And if you're wondering when I put quotes and when I don't put quotes, it's really just habit. I technically don't need quotes on this. You only need quotes on columns where like there's different uppercase, lowercase. But it's just a habit of mine now. Alright, so this should get me all... What did I do wrong? What transactions?
Maybe you do need quotes on it too.
Maybe I do. Okay, I do need quotes on too. That's why I put it there as habit. Anyways, yeah, so this would get me all the 2 calls essentially where create pair was called. But anytime you do any sort of filtering on transactions, you want to make sure you're only getting ones where success is true, where the transaction didn't fail. So I'll run this one more time. And if you're ever trying to decode stuff from like the function call data, it's just like you decode it the same way you would decode things from event logs, but everything is non-indexed, right? So like you can see this is token pair address 1, token pair address 2, but there is no pair contract address because it hasn't been deployed yet. Doesn't work here because not deployed. Smiley face. Alright, so we now have basically all the ways of getting this pair created data. I'm going to stick to this one since it's the fastest. And to answer that bonus question, to answer the bonus question, we would get the pair, right? And essentially, you could try to calculate the swap volume through like the actual swap called on the contract, or you can use the nicely made DEX trades table. And typically, you would look at like, oh, I need to filter by token A address or token B address, but we can actually just filter by the exchange contract address, where things are not aggregators. So where category equals DEX and exchange contract address in select pair from oh. I don't know how long that's going to take to run. Just as a general note, doing like where in is fairly slow. So typically, if you want things to be faster, you should use exist instead. But I'm hoping it just runs fast enough. And DEX Trades has like a USD price. Actually, I should check on GitHub. Dude, instructions. And I would go to Ethereum. This is where like all those DEX, like a lot of these tables are like created. So all the DEX trades, and maybe just look at like insert Uniswap v2. And I want to look for, oh, actually no, prices is updated separately. USD amount, that's what I want. All right. So since this might actually take a while, I would do exchange contract address sum USD amount. Of course. You can see I'm a very forgetful analyst. I forget like half of these things. Oh, nope, can't do that. And this should get us the answer to each pair's DEX volume. You could group it by month if you want, but that would take longer to run, so I'm not going to do that here. And that is question 3. I went on way too many detours, but that's a holistic answer of question 3. We'll probably do question 4 next time, because I do want to get to Aave. Alright. I will check in on this one later, but I don't see a reason why this wouldn't work. Unless exchange contract address does not mean what I think it does. I should change the question so that this runs faster. But do we have V2 DEX trades? I don't think so. Maybe we do actually. No, we don't have V2 DEX trades yet. Alright. Well, you have to take my word for it that this works, and I will run it from the top so you have this saved. So if anyone wants to look at this question, you can go basically search like, yeah. When you're doing search in Dune, make sure you actually go to queries and then you can find it. What did I call this one? I should do this to be consistent. All right. I'm going to stop this stream and start another one so we can look at Aave. Let's see. How do I do this? Stop stream.